How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time...
You said we were done with the silly ones.
We are done with the ridiculous superhero. Well, there are still some more ridiculous superheroes we could do, but this one is a good one.
You chose poorly.
This is a good story. I enjoyed it.
You're only saying that because of the artist and creator behind it.
I might be a little biased because of who the creator of this one is, because I consider them to be Golden Age royalty. But since I've actually found some fascinating characters, I decided...
You're going to do a Harvey month, aren't you?
Well, thanks for telling the people for me. Yes, for the month of December, I am going to be doing Harvey comic books. It's one that I haven't really gone into very much, and I think there's a lot of great heroes that we can go over that come out of Harvey comic books. Now, there are some characters that have a lot of stories and a lot of issues. Now, as always, I'm going to go over the origin stories, and I will try to review as much of their other stories as I can so I can go into depth on these characters, because there are some really great characters that come out of Harvey that I don't think are talked about enough in the from the Golden Age, and I really think that should be explored more. There's also more obscure heroes. Now, this one, it came out at the wrong time, and I explained this. This is when superheroes were starting to fall off, and it's really a shame because I think that the writer and the artist for this are great, are a great team. They've done many things together, which have become some great heroes. They've done many characters for Harvey comic books, in fact, which I really think need to be highlighted more. Now, I'm going to say this. It's done by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. If you know that combo, good for you. If you don't, why not? Okay, anyways, I think that this is a fascinating hero. In my opinion, I might be a little biased, but I enjoyed reading these stories. It didn't infuriate me as much as other Golden Age stories did. It didn't harp on the ridiculousness. It did, you know, some ridiculousness, stretch the disbelief a little bit. But I actually thought that these were some pretty decent stories. So you can listen to the review or go read the Stuntman comic books and then tell me what you think about them. As always, you know, just hit that like and subscribe button if you like what I'm doing here. Recommend my channel to any of your friends. And let's get into this Lost Heroes of the Golden Age with Stuntman. Stuntman, Fred Drake, first appeared in Stuntman number 1 in 1946. The original publisher is Harvey, and he is created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. And if you don't recognize either of those names, shame on you, and you shouldn't be watching Golden Age videos. If you don't recognize those names, go back and watch my Captain America video. Yes, they created Captain America among some other DC heroes like Sandman and Manhunter. Anyways, Stuntman was actually a decent story. It just came out at the wrong time. He's a costume superhero, and by the time of 1946, popularity of costume superheroes were starting to dwindle down. So there wasn't as many stories as I thought that there should have been for Stuntman. Now, he did appear in the first 3 issues of his own self-titled comic, but the 3rd issue wasn't... people didn't really know about the 3rd issue, so not a lot of people have it, and if you do have the 3rd issue, consider yourself lucky. But they did reprint his 3rd story in Stuntman number 3 in the Green Hornet Fights Crime number 39. Now, he would have some reprints and an issue of Black Cat and a couple issues of Thrills of Tomorrow. Now, all new comic books number 13 would have the only out of Stuntman picture stories of Stuntman, and it even says his first story out of his self-titled comic, and then there was a tech story in Joe Palooka Comics. Joe Palooka is a thing that we might get into one day. Now, Stuntman was not actually that bad of a story, and Fred Drake was a very competent hero. Don Daring... Don Daring's an idiot. Okay. Fred Drake was a circus performer, and then due to a terrible accident, he finds himself without a job. So he goes and be the stunt double for Don Daring, but nobody knows that he's the stunt double because he wears a fake mustache, and these two look remarkably alike up to the fact of the mustache. So he goes in and does stunt work for Don Daring that Don Daring is completely incapable of doing, which in one of the stories he tried doing his own stunts and failed miserably. He also wants to be an amateur detective, Don Daring does, and he sucks at it. I mean, he gets to the point where he thinks he finds the criminal, and he hands his gun over to the criminal saying, "Here, hold this gun and cover the bad guy while I take the notes down." So he ends up giving the gun to the person that is the criminal, thinking that the other person is the criminal. Oh my God, he's terrible at this. And I thought that he knew that Fred Drake was Stuntman, because Stuntman's costume is mostly Fred Drake's costume from his circus performance act. But due to the fact that he can't see the criminal right in front of him, he doesn't know that Fred is the Stuntman. So while Fred is fooling the whole world being the stunt double for Don Daring, he's also fooling Don Daring by being Stuntman. Now, these stories were rather interesting, and it's too bad they came out at the wrong time, because I could have seen this as being a long feature if it had kept going, because there are so many of Golden Age elements in the stories. The girl falling for the hero, nobody knowing who the hero is, even though he works with those people all the time. The investigator who can't solve the crime and needs the hero to do it. And there's so many Golden Age elements in this. And some great artwork by Jack Kirby. In fact, I found some black and white pages next to the color pages while doing the reviews. And good Lord, the black and white pages are phenomenal. I mean, the black and whites, the ink pages, look even better than the colored pages. In fact, if I could read the entire Stuntman arc with just the black and white pages, it would be incredible. But Stuntman, he just came out at the wrong time, even though he was created by two of comic book royalty. So it's a shame that it couldn't have gone farther. But for the stories that he did, they were actually entertaining, and they weren't annoying. You've seen me cover so many stories and so many origins, and some of them I find completely infuriating. And as much as I want to poke holes in these things, and some of the things are funny, it didn't make me angry. Now, maybe I had a little bit of being color biased because of who created it. So maybe I gave them more leeway on their story than I would have if I didn't recognize the name. So you can tell me if you think that my bias of being Joe Simon and Jack Kirby was coloring how I see this character. And I admit, I think that these two are some of the greats. So, let's go ahead and cover his origin. And, the origin is pretty well how most of the stories go. So, you can see how they were going to set this thing up and where they would be going moving forward. And it really does feel like a pretty good Golden Age story. So let's go ahead and do this. Special souvenir issue. Save the first issue of Stuntman Comics. It'll be a valuable souvenir someday. For in this story, Fred Drake, circus high wire aerialist, becomes the greatest name in crime fighting, Stuntman. Episode 1, Killer in the Big Top. If you're looking for thrills, the circus has many impressive and colorful spectacles to offer. But the Bandmaster Shows has a cold-blooded killer loose in the Big Top. Let's take a look inside and watch the fireworks as a new menace to the underworld undertakes to track him down. You'll cheer and gasp at the amazing exploits of Stuntman by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. As we open up our story, we see that the circus is being set up. And as the circus is being set up, I mean, right here, it's like someone has opened an umbrella of bad luck over the big top of the Bandmaster Circus. Each show has felt a repeated wave of accidents. Death still seemed to grin above the sawdust rings as the circus arrived in Ivandale, a town 15 miles from Hollywood. You see, this is the part that just throws me off completely right here. Each show has felt like a repeated wave of accidents. Death still seemed to grin above them. If you're having people dying at your shows, why are you still putting on shows? I mean, repeated wave of accidents. I think you should look into safety concerns. Okay, now, as they get to Ivanwood for the first time, it looks like this guy might be trying to run a protection scheme on him. Well, no, actually, he's trying to buy the circus. 12 grand ain't hay, Mr. Forbes. I still think you ought to sell. Maybe you'll change your mind after a few more accidents, Mr. Forbes? Why, you Felix Black, toss this bum out. So, Mr. Forbes is the owner of the circus, and Mr. Black is his assistant. He tells him to toss this guy out of his circus. He doesn't want to see the sight of him anymore. And it's heavily hinted that accidents and this guy go together. It's heavily hinted. Now, he tells Black that he only owns half of the circus. And we find out that the other half of the circus is owned by the Flying Apollos, all three members here. He's telling them that guy is again, he's offering $12,000. The answer is still no. We still draw crowds, and we'll snap the bad luck streak too. It's just, there's accidents. Maybe you should put the circus on hiatus for a little while. Anyways, we get a little bit of exposition here. Not forced exposition, but kind of like more natural. Let's be mighty careful in tonight's show. I have an uneasy feeling somehow. Look, Fred, you only joined the act 3 years ago. Why, before we had a dozen of bad streaks and we beat them all. The foreshadowing here is just so obvious. Suddenly a strange figure appears. Is it true? Is it true? You're gonna sell out the show, aren't you? We're not. No, we're not. Spine. This guy is the snake handler, and his name is Spine. And he's trying to tell him that we're not selling out the circus. And he points to Fred and said the bad luck will start when this guy in here. And Fred says, go tend to your snake, Spine. Leave me alone. It's showtime. So we see them heading out to perform. So they wouldn't sell. Well, I hope all of you know what you're doing. Don't worry, Black. Just pray they watch their step up there tonight. So we see this fantastic spectacle. I've been to a couple of circuses. spectacle like this is to be expected. So we see they're acrobats. They're calling themselves aerialists. But, I mean, I guess either way would be right. I mean, they said aerialists, and it confused me at first until I looked and I said, oh, they're acrobats. Okay, so as they're going through the act, Fred goes for one of his swinging bars while the line snaps holding the other two members, and they fall straight down. And Fred stares in horror as the two partners plummet toward the arena below, and Death Stars in the big top. Very illiterate. So he happens to go down there, and he is in a state of shock while everybody's like rushing out. In the dressing room, Fred moves about like a blind man. He's fumbling through old dusty scrapbooks in the far corner, a moment possibly arranged by fate. So he's kind of like in a state of shock, and he looks at one of the old Flying Apollo's books, and he goes, then it wasn't an accident tonight. It was murder. And as he goes to, is that his trailer? It says the Flying Apollos. He sees a man staring over, steering to the wagon. Fred, intent on surprising the intruder, enters the room in time to see a hand drop a burden of riding horse through the window. Very illiterate. So, this is a fantastic move right here. Fred acts quickly. His well-trained muscles surge into accident. He bowls over the stranger, kills the snake, and dives headlong through the window. I mean, you did this all in one fluid movement. That is damn impressive. Okay, so he sees Spine outside of the trailer, so he assumes that he dropped the snake. He's talking about, you weaken the trapeze wire. Only you can handle snakes. What's more, tonight I learned you were once one of the Flying Apollos before you injured your back. And that's probably why he has a dim view of Fred, because, you know, the Flying Apollos. He was one of them. So as he's chasing Spine down, he runs into Don, which I guess we don't know his name yet. Blast you! This is the second time tonight that you've upset and messed up my notes. Then you were the prowler in my quarters. Then I ought to see here, young man. I'm Don Daring, the movie star and amateur detective. You suck as a detective. I saw what happened tonight, and you decided to snoop around and botch things up. So he's talking about how he almost had the man who was going to kill him, and this whole snake thing. But then they some of the Forbes and one of the other people come around. Fred, what's wrong? And he pushes Don off to the side. He doesn't want them to see him for some strange reason. Let's see. Nothing much happened here, Mr. Forbes. Someone planted a snake in my room. I had to kill it. Iron Spine must have done it, but I'm not sure. Snakes. Ugh. I'm sorry I asked. I hate them. Okay, so, everything's under control. Come along, Black. See you later, kid. So, they just wanted to make sure Fred was okay, and then they are going off to take care of other things. I dare say, old boy. Are you British now? Well, your name is Don Daring. I've just thought of a capital idea. Okay, you are very British. I'd like you to come work for me. I don't get it, Daring. Well, you see, I could use a sort of a stand-in. A chap to do more rigorous work. My roles at the studio called for. So Don wants to be in action movies, but he's not much of an action man, and he wants Fred to do the action role for him. So he's like, yeah, see, what you'll do is you'll dress up as me, and then you'll do the stunt scenes. Let's see, 2 days later, outside of the Marymount Movie Studios, they're shooting the fight sequence of Two Gun Guy.
Okay. You can substitute for me. I'd offer other work. I've other work to do. Okay, as you say, Don, all I'm waiting for is a crack at Ian? Okay. So, somebody actually sets up another stake in the studio. I don't know why they did it in the studio. Anyways. Back on the movie lot, the entire personnel almost shouts with excitement as a new, more vigorous Don Daring, who is really Fred Drake, staging a free-for-all more realistic than anything the grinding cameras have yet recorded. Boy, this guy's terrific! I've never seen Daring this way before. I never knew he'd be this good a fighter. And the co-star actress, she's so impressed with him. And after the scene, he goes off to the trailer. In Daring's room, Fred finds a note left by Don. Fred, shall not need you till tomorrow. Have a new angle in the murder case. Have gone to investigate. You know, it was very nice of Don to write in the paper in a very particular way so that when you held it in your hand, you didn't obscure any of the words. Fred then leaves the studio and goes to his own apartment where he finds the phone ringing. And that's where the snake is. So someone let a snake off in his apartment, apparently wanting to finish off the Flying Apollos with Fred here. So as he's on the phone, he sees the snake in his apartment and he crushes to kill it. And then that's when he decides that he's going to need a superhero outfit. So he puts on his old costume and adds a helmet mask. Oh, that's just beautiful. Okay. Look out, Mr. Killer, here I come. And I believe we're coming close to the end here. Let's see. They go back to the circus because he is, let's see. So you see my dear Forbes, who owns half of the circus, is in debt. He wants to sell out, but he can't unless he can get rid of his partners, which I must say he's almost done. Which this sounds logical, that Forbes would want to sell the circus to pay off his debts, but he can't because the other half refuses to sell the circus. So he's convinced that Forbes will do it. Let's see. Spine would be the... But what about the Spine fellow? Spine would be the obvious suspect to the less keen observers than myself, but I've investigated Forbes thoroughly. He's our man. Well, I mean, you didn't fall for the obvious red herring that was Spine, but you missed what was right in front of you. It's all written in this book. I keep a complete record of all my cases in it. Oh, Don, you're marvelous, and this is so thrilling. You are a horrible detective. So as they're coming in, Don has a gun with him, and he confronts Forbes. Yes, you can't call me that, Black. I've got my reasons for not selling. Yes, and I know those reasons are. Put up your hands, you murderer. Fred Drake, am I glad you're here. Oh, he thinks you're that Drake fellow. How amusing. Well, I mean, you could think that. I mean, the mustache. Okay. So he hands the gun to Black and says, would you kindly keep him covered, Mr. Black, while I record his confession in my book? That's just stupid. And he says, now, Forbes, I know all about your debts, and all right, can it, Drake? Now grab air, all of you. Boy, this is too good to be true. Forbes and Drake together, the only two men left in my way, and I've got you both at gunpoint. See, he says, I've got nothing against the tomato, but she'll have to die too with you. Now file out and line up near the lion cage. You called her a tomato. Was that a phrase back then to call women? I mean, she's not wearing a whole lot of red, so... But you called her a tomato. Okay. So they line up near the lion cage, and Black herds his victims out to the lion cages. The evil light in his eyes leaves no doubt as to his horrible intention. Stay put, or I'll drill you. You're not going to disappoint the big cats, are you? And then suddenly Stuntman comes in, and he breaks up what's going on. As he kicks Black from behind, he weakens the lion cage, and as Black flies off, the lions finally break out of the cage, and yeah, they descend on him. Don't leave cats hungry, they'll attack people. The mysterious stranger recoils momentarily as Black's body falls in the path of the feared, crazed lions, but the stranger acts steadily. In the following few seconds, as he hurls himself between the animals and their intended victims, so they don't get Black. He stops them. Hold them as long as you can, mister. I'll get help pronto. Make it fast, Forbes. This a little out of my line. Get back, you. Get back. Okay, and we'll read all this last of this bit so we can get everything in there. As things are soon under control with the arrival of the circus roustabouts. I dare say you saved me the job of tangling with these beasts. Oh yeah? Well, next time you may not have a stuntman to double for you. Besides, if your detecting was up to par, you'd have found out that Spine was in jail and Forbes is afraid of snakes. Nearby, Forbes gets an idea. Stuntman, wait till I get an angle, or what an angle, wait till the papers get this. And the next day, Stuntman solves circus killing, a new menace of crime, unable to save murderer mauled by lions. Stuntman trained acrobat saves circus owner. I thought he halted the lions. Isn't that what they said? Okay. Maybe they did get him. At the Metromount Studios, oh, Dawn, I still can't get over that Stuntman. What shoulders? If only I could meet him face to face. What shoulders? Okay. What shoulders? All right. Oh, what a time to double for Dan Daring. Oh, well, a job is a job. Oh, so... All right, and that's the end of Stuntman. Okay, I hope you like what we're doing here. I hope you enjoyed the story of Stuntman. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and do Harvey Comic Month. I think it's something that is interesting, and I do kind of, I am a little ashamed that we've gone this many videos and I really haven't covered Harvey comic books, but here we are, we're getting into it, maybe even a patriotic superhero. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.